So, this trauma informed principle of voice, choice, and empowerment is also particularly important for organizations and for trauma informed leaders and leadership. Organizational leadership, like group leadership, is enhanced through a process of centralizing empowerment, voice, and choice. Remember, an organization is really just a group of people that come together. So, all of those group dynamics and group leadership skills that we learn as group therapists and group workers are also really relevant in organizational settings. I feel like for my own journey of becoming an organizational leader was really enhanced by my experience training in group work and group dynamics and sociometry and psychodrama. So, as trauma informed leaders, part of our job, our role inherently, is to empower others to access their own leadership within themselves. And this comes back to that differentiation I talked about earlier in terms of the difference between power over, power with, and power within. That we want to be cultivating power with and power within rather than abusing our power and using it over others. In the research, there was a meta analysis that shows that psychological empowerment is positively related to employee outcomes, job satisfaction, commitment to the organization, and job performance. And empowerment is negatively related to staff strain and stress and staff turnover. So there's lots of good reasons to focus on voice, choice, and empowerment within our organizations. Leaders can promote empowerment, voice, and choice through collaboration with staff, through providing professional development opportunities. Involving staff in the decision making is one of the simplest and most powerful ways we can do this. Giving staff as much autonomy as we can in defining or redefining their role when possible. Providing access to organizational information, giving staff ownership in the organization and its initiative, really empowering them to feel co-responsible for the organization, and employing self-led teams so that there's a sense of collaboration that's cultivated. Also really helps to utilize democratic decision-making processes that as leaders, instead of just making decisions on our own that are going to impact others, that we democratically make decisions. We check in, we get feedback, we ask people what they think, what they feel about certain proposed policy changes. We ask them if they have better ideas. I know in my own organization, the overwhelming majority of good ideas and structures and policies we've implemented were certainly not things that I thought about by myself. Most of the time, they were suggestions from staff members, from graduate students and interns that we hosted, or from clients. There's a lot of rich information, feedback, and wisdom available to us as leaders if we ask for it. And we can really make our organizations significantly better if we're frequently asking for feedback and reading the feedback and implementing changes based on that feedback. So, inviting feedback from staff, creating changes in policy and programs and practices based on it is one of the simplest and most effective ways to empower staff and to really show them that we value their voice. As leaders, we have to keep in mind that a large portion of our staff are going to be trauma survivors. If you're working with humans or you're employing humans in your organization, a large majority of them are going to be folks who have experienced trauma. So centralizing these trauma-informed principles within our organizations, in particular, voice, choice, and empowerment, will help our staff be the best that they can be, empower them to be the best version of themselves. So the organization and the leadership really needs to cultivate a core belief in the resilience, in the strength, and in the capacity of both the clients that are served, but also the staff that are employed in the organization. Leaders and staff have to be approached as facilitators of recovery rather than as controllers of recovery. This comes back to that previous trauma-informed principle about collaboration as well. So I want to challenge you to consider, in spaces where you do have some power, how can you practice power with the people you're working with rather than power over others? How can you practice collaboration and empowerment? It might be helpful to also consider the examples of leadership from the past, of empowering leadership from the past that you've encountered. Who are people in your life that have empowered you? Leaders that you've engaged with that have helped you become the best that you can be? And what are the things that they did specifically that help you feel empowered? Perhaps we can learn from our role models in this regard. I also want to challenge us to reflect on how are we eliciting and incorporating feedback from clients, community members, coworkers, and staff in order to refine our work, our programs, and our organization as a whole. Do we have a formal and structured process for getting feedback? Do we do exit interviews when people leave? Do we give client satisfaction surveys at discharge or at different intervals? Are we asking for feedback from staff? What are the ways in which your workplace is empowering or disempowering? And what are the ways that you can cultivate or advocate or collaborate to create change within your organization?